Hey everyone, George here, and welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to give you an update on these two Discus that I have in this tank that I am breeding. As you can see from the last video till now, we have wrigglers here that have been on here for about 2 days now. I would expect that tomorrow we will start to see them break away and look for the parents and attach themselves. There's been a little bit of falling off here. I know that from what I read, out of the eggs that do hatch, only about 70% of them will be sustainable, and the percentages go down even more as the days go by. So you don't really know what you're going to end up with. But at this point here, I would say we have a good 60 or 70 wrigglers on here that these two are taking care of. Now the male, which is the yellow checkerboard never pepper Discus, is not been very active in keeping track of the wrigglers or even paying attention to the eggs until just in the last couple hours. And I don't know why all of a sudden there's an interest by him to do that, but I want to be careful because I don't want to spook him and get something going here that would be not good for this whole process. So I just want to be really careful not to do that. Now the female has been really good at being attentive and making sure that she's paying attention to any wrigglers that do break off, and making sure that she goes and gets them, brings them back, puts them in her mouth, brings them back to the cone, and then deposits them back on the cone. Now the cone is really just a prop. It's not something that's necessary. These fish, if they're wanting to breed, will lay eggs just about anywhere on the glass. If you had anything else in the tank, they would lay their eggs there as well too. This is just an easy way and a good contrast to see what you're dealing with here. Now I believe, as I said earlier, there's probably about 70, from what I can count, that have hatched out here. There's been a few that have dropped away simply because they haven't been viable, and that is normal from what I read. And I want to be extremely careful not to upset the male here or the female and have them be aggressive towards the wrigglers out of concern that I'm going to do something that's going to interfere. So I have to be extremely careful about that. Now I have been doing a couple of water changes, at least one a day, sometimes two, and about 20 or 30% of the water. I've been extremely careful on how I'm doing that. I'm basically doing it with my Python, but I'm making sure that I'm very careful to make sure that water going out is nowhere near the eggs or any fry that might be in the tank that are free floating at this point. There are a few in there that are doing that. And my understanding is that the more water changes I do, the better off things are going to be. But again, one of the things that I also understand is that some of these fry that break away, the wrigglers that break away, sometimes you think that that's just the end of them. And people have told me that that's not necessarily the case. They can go off somewhere else in the tank, and when they're ready to be free swimmers and have the strength to do that, they will come around, because that yolk sac goes wherever they go. and they live on that, and that's where they get their strength from. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I just kind of wanted to give you an update, kind of show you where we're at on this whole process, and kind of give you an idea of whether or not we're being successful. At this point here I am, but again, the next day or two is going to be crucial as to how this all goes and what the outcome is going to be. So again, any loose wrigglers that move around in the tank, you'll see the male and the female go after them and place them back on the cone. Sometimes it gets a little chaotic, and the well-intended bringing them back there makes a lot of movement and knocks even more of them off. So I want to be careful that I'm not doing anything that is upsetting these guys to the point where I'm creating an environment where they're stressed out, and that creates a situation where some of these wrigglers get moved off that cone and spread around the tank. That's not my intention. I just, like I said, wanted to give you an update, and hopefully I can do that without causing a lot of problems here. So like I said, so far things have been going really well. Both parents, no fighting between the two of them, which is always good. I've heard a lot of stories about male and females fighting over who is going to take care of either the eggs or the wrigglers once they hatch, and I haven't seen any of that. I think that both parents have been very good at being equally responsible for caring for the fry at this point. The male was not as interested in caring for the eggs originally, and then as they hatched and the wrigglers started to appear, the interest went way up with him, and he's now being very, very attentive to the cone. And again, no problems between the male and the female, which is really nice to see, a mating pair that gets along. Now, as I said in my first video, this is really just a practice run for me. I would not be mating a blue diamond and a checkerboard never pepper albino. Who knows what that would even look like, but it's a good practice for me and gives me an idea of what I'm capable of doing, or what modifications I need to make once I do get a pair that are, that are of the same genetics, and start breeding them. I'll have a pretty good idea on how to do that. Now, I did also turn the flow down in this tank pretty good, just because that's one of the things that was recommended to me, and also the light has been on for 24 hours a day, and the reason for that is you never know day or night when these guys are going to become free swimmers. There's a 72-hour period from the time they're wrigglers to the time they become free swimmers, and I haven't really paid enough attention from the beginning of this to know exactly when that will be, but the suggestion was leave a light on so that the wrigglers can see the parents as they break off the cone and become free swimmers. Now, as I said, some have just basically not made it. I've seen them come off and struggle to swim, and then they disappear. Now, I don't know if they go back to the cone or the parents have found them and put them back on the cone. I don't really see a lot of dead wrigglers at the bottom. I've seen a couple, but again, I think that's the parents basically culling these guys, and doing that in a way that makes it so that they have only the healthiest of the spawn survive. So again, I'm going to end it here. Leave your comments down below if you have any questions. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. This has been a fun thing for me to practice this and have some success here. We'll see long term how this goes. And again, I'll be looking for a really nice pair that I can breed in the future. But this practice for now is going to be something that's going to be very beneficial for me as I go forward. I've already learned a great deal just in the last week about what to do and what not to do. There are certainly things that I would change, such as the dark background on here. That could be a problem down the road here. We'll have to see how that goes. But it's one of those things where, as I said, you're going to learn as you go here, and hopefully we'll have some success here. Again, give me a thumbs up on this one. If you have not already subscribed, please do that. Leave your comments down below, and please share with your friends. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next one. We'll get you an update on this as soon as something significant happens. Until then, we are out of here.